My wife's brother bulldozed my custom workshop I built with my late father. Real men don't hide in sheds. He didn't know it was built on my property, not his sister's. The demolition lawsuit bankrupted him. The text from my neighbor arrived while I was in a client meeting. 3 photos, each more devastating than the last. My workshop gone. Nothing but splintered wood and twisted metal where my sanctuary had stood 4 hours earlier. Call me ASAP, Jim had written. Your brother-in-law did this. I have video. My hands shook as I excused myself from the conference room. That workshop wasn't just a building. It was the last thing my father and I built together before cancer took him. Every joint, every nail, every carefully measured cut held our final conversations. I called my wife, Sarah, first. She answered on the second ring, already crying. Tom, I'm so sorry. Brad just told me he said he was doing us a favor, but you spend too much time out there. He demolished my workshop. He hired a crew, said real men don't need sheds to hide from their families. Tom, I tried to stop him, but he said, where is he now? At his house. He's having a barbecue to celebrate liberating you, Tom. I hung up, not on her, but on the situation. Brad had always been a problem. Sarah's older brother, the kind of man who measured masculinity by truck size and called therapy feelings hour. He'd mocked my workshop from day one, called it my fancy hiding spot and my princess palace. But to destroy it, I drove home, forcing myself to stay under the speed limit. Jim met me in my driveway with his laptop. I'm sorry, Tom. I saw the crew arrive around noon, tried to tell them to stop, but they had work orders, said the property owner authorized it. Show me the video. Jim's security camera had caught everything. Brad arriving in his lifted F-350, pointing at my workshop, signing papers, the excavator rolling in. The first bite of the claw through the roof my father had shingled, joking about teaching me to lay them straight. So the rain runs off, not in 20 minutes. That's all it took to erase 18 months of Thursday evenings and weekend mornings of Dad teaching me Japanese joinery despite chemo weekend hands of him carving our initials in the corner beam the week before he couldn't hold tools anymore. Jim looked worried. You okay? I need to make some calls. The first was to my attorney David Park. We'd been friends since college and he knew the workshop's history. Brad did what? David's voice went sharp. Please tell me you have documentation that it was on your property. Every permit, every survey marker, every property line document, and Brad authorized the demolition. Jim has video. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Don't confront Brad. Don't post anything online. Document everything. The second call was to Brad's demolition company. They were surprisingly cooperative once I explained the situation. Sir, we had a signed authorization from Brad Fuller. He showed ID, said he owned the property. Did he pay? Cash, $3,500 for rush job. I need copies of everything. The contract, his signature, any permits he claimed to have. Our office can email those within the hour. Sir, if we demolish the wrong property, you demolish the right building. The wrong person authorized it. Send everything to this email address. I walked to where my workshop had stood. The concrete foundation Dad and I had poured was cracked, broken by heavy machinery. The wood we'd carefully selected, dried and cut, was kindling. Dad's 1960s craftsman table saw his hand planes, some from his father. Gone. Sarah arrived as I was photographing the debris. She looked destroyed. Tom, I had no idea he was planning this. He showed up this morning talking about family unity and how you isolate yourself. It's not your fault. I should have warned you how he was talking at dinner last week about how men shouldn't need separate spaces from their families. How his ex-wife she-shed obsession ruined his marriage. This isn't about his ex-wife or toxic masculinity. This is about control. David arrived with a grim expression. I've reviewed the property documents you sent. The workshop was 100% on your land, properly permitted, legally built. Brad had zero authority to touch it. So, we can sue. Sue Tom. This is criminal destruction of property. Fraud, possibly identity theft if he claimed to own the land. We're talking felony charges. My phone buzzed. The demolition company's documents. David reviewed them, his expression darkening. He signed his property owner. That's fraud. He also claimed there were no permits needed because it was a hazardous structure. That's filing a false report. What's the next step? Police report. Then we calculate damages. What was the replacement value? I'd never thought about it in those terms. The structure itself, maybe $30,000 in materials. But the tools, make a list. Every item, get appraisals for the vintage tools. David, some of those tools were my grandfather's. My dad restored them. How do you appraise that? Carefully, thoroughly, and expensively. The police arrived within an hour. Officer Martinez took the report while Officer Chin interviewed Jim about the video. Their expressions grew increasingly serious as the story unfolded. Mr. Fuller never claimed to own this property. Martinez asked, he's my brother-in-law. He knew exactly whose property it was. Called it my she-shed constantly. She-shed. His term for any space where men pursue hobbies without their families present. He thinks it's emasculating. Martinez exchanged glances with Chen. Sir, we've had issues with Mr. Fuller before. Bar fights mostly. This escalation is concerning. They left to interview Brad. I spent the time making my list. Dad's table saw $3,000 for a restored vintage model. His hand planes, $500 each, 6 total. The Japanese chisels he bought specifically for our project, $2,000. But how do you price his handwriting on the drawer labels? His pencil marks on the wood showing where to cut the sawdust that probably still held his DNA. Sarah's phone rang. Brad, put it on speaker, I said. Arrested me at my own barbecue. Do you know how embarrassing that was? Brad, you destroyed. I improved your marriage. Tom spends more time in that shed than with you. I did you a favor. You committed a crime, I said calmly. Tom, you ungrateful. I was helping. Real men don't need hideaways. Now you can watch the second part by pressing share and more.